Oscar López Plaza, Hernando López Tamón, Eva Corona, Roy Garza, and Richard Gonzalez. Next item on the agenda is moving to silence. Would you please bow your head for name of silence and remember your loved ones and the ones that have gone before us, the ones that are sick and through this pandemic that we're going on right now, and hopefully that it will go away. Amen. Go ahead, number 3, pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next one is the Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
That's so awesome.
Item number 4, the superintendent says,
Good evening, trustees. Good evening, community, and all of our staff, and especially our boys and girls and our young men and young ladies. Congratulations for being here. And this is what it's all about, is having our kids here to celebrate. So let's go ahead and start off, and we're going to start off with Seal Junior High School DI team. Let's bring out the DI team with Ms. Alexis.
Good evening, Chairman of the Board, school board members, and Dr. Moreno. We're proud to have our Seal Junior High Destination Imagination team, in case some kids or parents are wondering what DI stands for. Destination Imagination. This team competed against 46 teams. And out of the 46 teams, they came in third. So we're for their team manager to say just a few words. Ms. Robin.
Good evening. We are so proud of these kids. Having the meeting with them every day after school, or every day of practice after school, is always so exciting. We're never really sure what's going to transpire when they make up their performances. They are an improv team, and so what that means is basically they are having to create a performance from scratch and then perform it immediately. And they do that with just such amazing talent, and it's always just so funny to watch. And on the pressure of competition day, they always just come through and they come up with something that, you know, I couldn't have planned out myself. And so we're very proud of them. We had so much fun with them, and we are very excited for what they have in store for us for next year. Thank you.
Our team members are Elisa Claros Castillo, Kayla Esquivel, Luis Reina, Vicente Ibarra, and Melanie Flores. We had some additional members that were not able to be with us this evening: Avi Alvarez, Isabella Garcia, and Sara Zamora. Avi Alvarez.
Say DI, ready? 1, 2, 3.
No, I have to stay here.
For the record,
We're now going to switch gears a little bit, and we're going to go toward our scientists at Robstown ISD. We're going to get started with Lodge Beach Elementary. In first grade, we had a 3-member team, Carlos Carrillo IV. Iris Aguilar. And Ariel Gonzalez. In second grade, representing Lodge Beach Elementary, we had Sebastian Gallegos. In third grade, we had Erilyn Martinez. We had some additional students that are not present with us today. We're proud of them as well. Ariana Lopez, Paul Ibarra, and Charlotte Leal. This is Ms. Ariana Lopez. We're going to continue with Ortiz Intermediate. And Ortiz Intermediate, in fourth grade, we have Jaylyn Esquivel. Michael Ramon. Aaliyah Nunez. And now we're going to switch to Driscoll. We had a very, very successful year this year with our science fair. At Driscoll, we would like to recognize our first place winner, not just at Driscoll Elementary, but also at the Regional Science Fair. And this young lady took first place in Life Science, in the Life Science Division, Miss Riley Chavera. In second grade, we have Jimena Ibarra. And in second grade, we have Blanca Torres Luna. And our next student, we're extremely proud. Last year, he placed first at the Regional Science Fair. So this year, we were waiting, and somebody else took first place, and we're all starting to wonder what's going on, and we're texting back and forth. And it means something bigger. Well, sure enough, Mr. Aaron Rodriguez placed Best in Show in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade division. So his first place was actually in 3 grade levels. We were extremely excited. Thank you.
Does this work as a, or did you want to? It's fine.
Tree was. I think that demo. Ready for that demo?
Okay, tomorrow I'll go home and check. But I don't know, it was so nice. But she says, she's a big crybaby.
All right, trustees, we're going to continue with our celebrations. So this evening, we're going to recognize our Robstown Early College High School and Seal Junior High School choir students. So we'll have Mr. Ledesma come on up, as well as Mr. Farfar. Good evening, board members, Dr. Moreno, faculty, staff, friends, family, everyone here, and everyone I did forget. I'll try to keep it short and sweet. It's great that we have so many kids that we're celebrating today. All I want to say is that I'm extremely proud of all the students that went to go compete in our UIO solo competition the 1st of February. They had to learn a song and they had to present in front of a judge they'd never seen before, and have the song memorized, and just the best rating they can get is a 1, and these are the students that are here that got that first division in their performance. Another quick thing that I would like to add is a lot of these students are representing Seal Junior High Choir in many ways. We've done Region Choir at the beginning of the school year, and I think we broke history this year by having 30 kids make it to the Region Choir at the beginning of the school year, which I think was amazing. Another way that these students are really working hard for me is, I believe in the first time in Robstown ISD, specifically Seal Junior High choir history, for our main competition at UIO Concert and Sight Reading, we'll be taking 3 separate choirs instead of 1 to our UIO competition, which is a big deal as well. Yeah. I'd like to add as well to that tomorrow, precisely evening at 6 p.m., we'll be having our pre-UIO concert here at the Robstown Auditorium. I would like to invite everyone to make it, please. This is kind of like a benchmark to their actual UIO competition. We'll be bringing in some judges to adjudicate them and just kind of give them tips and pointers on how to perform better for their actual competition on March 25th. So if y'all can make it, that'd be great for the support. These are the students that earned a Division I rating at their UIO solo competition back in February 1st. We'll start with Miranda Aguilar. Sure, she's here. Angel Armadillo. Corey Cabello. Katie Castro. Eliza Claros Castillo. Alexis Flores. Olivia Flores. Viviana Flores.
Joseph Garcia. Alyssa Guzman. Zoe Hunt. Cecilia Ocañas. Eliana Olmeda. Martín Pérez. Luis Reina. Ella Rodriguez. Audrey Sanders. Ronnie Sepúlveda. Eric Valdez. Jesse Vasquez. I think these kids are fighting for audience now. Ryan Vasquez. Oscar Vasquez. Adelina Villarreal. Anali Villarreal. Vicenta Ibarra. And Brianna Iregas. Also, sorry, Sara Zamora. She's not here, I believe. One more thing I'd like to add. I really appreciate everyone here, board members especially, and our superintendent for taking the time to appreciating our students. As much as I tell them how much I appreciate them, I'm pretty sure they appreciate that they get the appreciation from you all as well. And I'm pretty sure they're also tired of my dad jokes, so thank you all. All right, guys, make a line, please, and shake hands, please, over here. This way. Follow them around them.
Good evening. I'd like to join Ms. Ledesma in thanking Dr. Moreno, school board, Mrs. Romero, and our other administrators for recognizing our choir program tonight. You know, these students, when they perform these solos, UIL solos, it's a challenge for them, and it really builds their confidence level. And so we're really proud of the students that are being recognized tonight, and just recognize all the effort and planning and diligence it takes to go and learn a solo, memorize a solo, perform in front of a judge. There's so many steps involved, and I'm always so pleased when the students actually complete that process. And we're really proud of them, of course, for their ratings as well. I'd like to recognize them. Some of them are not able to be here tonight. And you'll hear some of them learn solos in foreign languages. Amanda Alvarado, she did an Italian solo, Division 2 excellent. Gianna Contreras did an English solo, she's not here tonight, she's Division 2 excellent. Corinne Cruz, she's not here tonight, Division 2 excellent in English solo. Yes, let's recognize them, thank you. Lelua Fox Cuyos, Division 2 excellent on Italian solo. Judy Gonzalez could not be here tonight, Division 2 excellent English solo. Monica Lozano, Division 1 superior English solo. Penelope Munoz, Division 2 excellent German solo. Lorena Paredes, Division 1 superior English solo. Abigail Ramon, Division 2 excellent English solo. Ariana Uregas, Division 2 excellent Italian solo. I don't believe she's here tonight. Devin Mungia received the Division 1 superior on his English solo. He's ill tonight, but let's give him a hand. I had an experience, and the student's not going to let me sharing this. Sorry, Gilbert. When I showed him a picture from 1997, and his father was in the picture of the choir, and Gilbert said to me, "Sir, you had so much more hair." I don't know why he said that, Dr. Merle, but anyway. I was really proud of Gilbert. This was his first UIL solo, and he received the Division 2 excellent. Gilbert. Sorry, Gilbert, I won't embarrass you like that again. Angel Bosix could not be here tonight, but he received, Angel, it's Angel Hernandez. Could not be here tonight, Division 2 excellent. On his Italian solo. Now the next two students, you're going to hear a special recognition they're receiving. Marissa Vasquez received a Division 1 on her German solo. And she's advancing to the state contest. And Marisol Guzman, she received a Division 1 on her Italian solo and is advancing to state. So thank you for recognizing our students tonight, Dr. Monroe School Board.
Gilbert, hold it up.
If I may add a word while they're greeting the school board, the concert tomorrow night with Sioux Junior High is, we call it a pre-UL concert, but it is, some parents perceive it as, it's just like a contest or a test. No, it's an actual concert. And so we want parents to come. And our high school concert is on Tuesday, March 24th, right after spring break, and it'll feature the piano, guitar classes, and the choir as well. So we'd love you to come to those events. Thank you.
All right, trustees, we'll continue with our celebration with the Robstown Early College High School Color Guard. I think we have visited our meetings.
I'm going to invite the color guards to come up. They don't have individual certificates, but I'd like to know. Well, good evening. First of all, I want to thank you, board members and superintendent and all of our administrators and BAM staff for all the support that we have been receiving throughout the years. This past February 8th, we traveled to Hidalgo, and we were up and ready to go at 7 in the morning, performed at 11 or so, then drumline and so forth. None of us, other than I had to assign 2 of the guard members. First of all, let me backtrack. I was reading the certificate and said, for being fantastic students, and fantastic students they are. We have the best students. I might be a little biased, but I believe we have the best students. In my color guard, I've got kiddos that are pulling double, triple duty. They're in powerlifting, they're in drumline, they're, cheerleaders, dance team, but yet they make time for everything. And academics, as I know, is a number 1 for us. And, but anyhow, super proud of them. We went to Hidalgo, and I've been working with the district for 19 years, and in 19 years, this is the first time that we walked out of a competition with a first place trophy. And as I was mentioning, we traveled with the drumline, so we were helping the drumline out, and we were in critique, so we were all spread out, and so through text, we got first place, and we're like, oh my gosh, no, this can't be, and so it was great. It was the greatest feeling ever. So hopefully, this coming Saturday, we will be traveling to Edinburgh, and we probably will be competing against the same guards. And Mr. Cabrera, in speaking of the competition itself, put everything into perspective for me. I didn't realize that we were competing against 6 A schools. You know, and I think we were so anyhow, we will be traveling to Edinburgh, and then our championships will be on the 28th in Hidalgo, where we walked out with our first trophy. So hopefully, you know, that we will have 2 or 3. So anyhow, thank you so much for all of your support, and I just can't thank you enough. Thank you so much.
Talk about making history. Congratulations. All right, so we'll continue the Robstown Early College High School drum line. Mr. Hofstetter.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having us here tonight. This sea of green you see behind me is my drum line. We're having a great year so far this year. We went into the same show on February 8th in Hidalgo, and we did come out in first place there. So give them a round of applause for that. The indoor drum line actually is comprised of about 43 people, and that's about half the entire marching band program. That's all kind of part of this little drumline group. So it's pretty impressive, and it's pretty humbling that that many kids want to be part of this activity with us. The year so far, and like I said, it's been doing great so far. Not this past weekend, but the weekend before, we actually tried something new. In the past few years, we've competed in the circuit that's called TECA, and that's involved pretty much West Texas and South Texas. And as you know, in the last couple of years, we came away with the first place championship 2 years ago, and then the second place last year. And well, we're hoping for another first place again this year. But besides that, we wanted to try our toes in more of a national setting, or in the international setting, as it were. And we went up to Houston for the weekend, and we competed in what's called Winter Guard International. And we competed in a Houston Regional Circuit. There were 40 drumlines there from all over the United States. We came in 14th in our division, sorry. And I'm really proud of them. It's one thing trying to be the best in South Texas, but when you're trying to be one of the best in the US and on an international stage, I'm really proud of how they presented themselves. The actual show was actually televised nationally through Flow Marching, which is a website that you can watch marching arts through. And people from all over the US that I know were sending congratulations and said, hey, I watched the show, they're great, you know, they did this, they did that. So that was really, really exciting that we were able to do that whole experience of going to Houston and competing on the national stage. Oh, and Mr. Shi did want me to point out that everybody that we competed against was 6A and 5A schools. So that's something to be pretty proud of. If anybody's available, on April 3rd, we'll be having our community thanking show, where we just kind of perform the last show one last time before we go to our championships on April 4th. It'll be at 7 p.m., hopefully in the main gym. That's our goal. So thank you again for having us. Thank you again for recognizing all of my students. So thank you.
Let's hold down for a picture real quick. All right. Shorter people in the front. All right, we look forward. Pictures that way. You ready?
Right here. Don't move, though. Don't move.
Don't breathe. And then you can
Thank you.
All right, we'll continue with the Robstown Early College High School Mariachi Band.
Good evening, I'll make this quick. I do want to congratulate our students. For the fifth year in a row, the University Interscholastic League, known as the UIL, has hosted a state UIL mariachi contest, which has been many, many years in the making. So for the fifth year in a row, our mariachi students have represented our campus, district, and community. After they performed, they got a clinic with Dr. Jeff Nevin, who teaches in California, so they were able to get that exposure. And then this past Saturday, they competed at the TMDA, known as the Texas Mariachi Directors Association, founded by our very own Mr. Charles Cabrera. And they had a very, very solid performance. I do want to recognize one of our student singers, Mr. Miguel Calderon, got second out of all male vocalists. And while we're talking about our fine arts department, and we talk about Robstown ISD being my choice, I challenge anybody in this room to find a school district within 2 hours driving distance that has an indoor color guard, mariachi, jazz band, and an indoor drum line. You won't find one. So let's give these students a hand. I would say that the closest would be the city of Laredo, and they're all 6A school districts. So I want to thank our school board. Again, our students will not find these opportunities in any neighboring school districts or any of that. So let's give them one final hand. Like I said, thank y'all very much. Mariachi, come on up and let's take a group photo. And I also want to thank Mr. Ledesma for himself. Come on up, sir. What's that? They did get first place out of all 4 A's. So thank you very much. And while they're coming to the front, I will admit, on the way up to San Antonio, I was trying to watch Bruno on my phone, and the students were singing on the bus. It was actually quite satisfying to see them do that, that they're enjoying it. So that was pretty awesome, even though I was trying to listen to my show. Good for them. All right. I want to get to this. Go over here with Marty.
Guys, ready?
All right, we're going to change the pace a little bit. Thank you, all of our students, all of our staff.
On Thursday, our color guard, mariachi, drumline, jazz, they're going to be doing hosting a parent Everybody who wants to come fundraiser, $10 a ticket. I think what, five kids under 5 are free? No. Or, for kids? Under 5 are free, and it's gonna start at 6:30, and you get to see all these great people who you just saw up here in one night. So please come out and support us.
All right, we'll now continue with our Proud Hero Picker Award, and Jenna, come on up.
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, Dr. Monero, it always gives us great pleasure to recognize employees that are doing an amazing job here in the district. Of course, the Proud Hero Picker Award, anyone can be nominated by a staff member, a student, or a community member. And this evening, I'd like to recognize 2 staff members. So I will first read the nomination of one of the staff members. I am submitting this individual for a Proud Hero Picker Award because she has exemplified the true meaning of this award. This is her first year teaching. In this short while, she has gained the trust and admiration of her students by serving as a positive role model, treating students fairly, setting high expectations, and finding creative ways to make learning rigorous and relevant. She has established positive relationships with the students, parents, and colleagues. Her positive relationship with students and parents has allowed parental involvement to slowly increase on our campus. Through the inception of the Robstown Readers Book Club, attendance and student engagement, attendance has incrementally progressed. This has had a positive impact on book club members' student achievement. This teacher spends a lot of her extra time working with students. For example, she has assisted with after-school tutorials for ACT, TSI, and STAR assessments through 21st Century. She goes above and beyond interacting with students on an instructional level. She works to make sure their physical and emotional needs are met as well. She takes a special interest in all her students and works closely with her colleagues and the campus administration in monitoring student progress and achievement. Additionally, she has been caught in the act on more than one occasion this year. However, the most meaningful for our students was in December when she took her book club to Majestic Theater in San Antonio. After months of staying after school and engaging students in the reading process, she was able to provide our students with an unforgettable gift. Because of her interest in our students, they were able to experience the theatrical performance, The Color Purple. This was an unforgettable, once-in-a-lifetime experience for our students. Students were afforded the opportunity to explore a world outside of their own. I believe this teacher is very deserving of this award because she goes above and beyond her normal job responsibilities every day to reach the hearts and minds of our very special student population. And I will tell you that she was nominated by one employee, but by also 6 different students at her campus. So congratulations to Ms. Caitlin Reese. Going above and beyond her assigned part-time duties. She is a great co-worker. She has a love for food and believes that she can share that love by cooking for others. She rewards students by bringing food and cooking for them. During STAR testing, we made food for the staff members, and if it was a recipe that could not be done in class, she volunteered to prep it at home so that we would have time to finish it at school. She is very thoughtful. One of our culinary students that are in her class advanced to state So she made a banner and breakfast for the class to have at school today as a congratulations. She is always willing to assist with shopping for groceries for the class when we need ingredients even after her workday is over. She makes working with her a true pleasure. Congratulations, Ms. Irma Elizondo. We could have Ms. Lee stack up and we'll take a picture of our staff. Together.
Then we go to item 5, public participation as per policy BD, local. No one? Go to item number 6, information items.
Trustees, this evening, we'd like to start off with Mr. Patrick McDonald. He's the Executive Director of Nueces Together. And he'll be presenting to us a little bit more information on the 2020 census presentation.
Okay, is this a mouse or forward? Forward. All right, so we have a little introduction note from Judge Canales.
I want to take this opportunity to tell everyone how vitally important the 2020 census is to the Coastal Bend region. The Census Bureau conducts the largest mobilization effort in the country, and it only happens every 10 years. The goal is to count every person regardless of age or citizenship. Census data guides how billions of dollars of federal funding is distributed to communities each year. To get our fair share of Nueces County dollars, it is extremely important that every person be counted in the census. So join me and stand up and be counted.
Okay, thanks, Judge.
I want to take this opportunity to tell everyone.
All right, pointer. Next slide.
El Censo Económico 2020 empieza desde marzo hasta julio de este año y el propósito principal es contar cada persona de nuestra comunidad sin importar estatus migratorio o nacionalidad. Esta información es confidencial y sirve para distribuir los fondos federales en nuestra comunidad. Participa. ¿Y tú, ya estás listo?
Thanks, Adriana. All right. Briefly, my name is Patrick McDonald. I'm the Executive Director of Nueces Together. I want to give a big thank you to Eva and Bertha. They were one of the first community stakeholders to respond to our initial outreach last year. So because of that, Robstown is one of the better represented municipalities in Nueces County. So give another quick shout out to that. Briefly, the census is critical. It's mandated by the U.S. Constitution to provide for fair and informed governance every 10 years. There's been one every 10 years since 1790. The census is almost upon us. The soft launch starts on the 12th of this month. That's when the federal government will be releasing for the first time a website that you can take the census on, and like a call-in system that where you can submit your census information. It's really exciting. It's the first time we've ever done it that way in the United States. So this is a really big opportunity for Robstown and essentially the United States. This is just broad stroke stuff. Census count information determines funding and federal dollars that comes back to political subdivisions like ISDs, counties, sheriff's departments, et cetera, et cetera. We had a substantial undercount in New Essex County, particularly Robstown, in 2010. That's why New Essex Together was formed, not Robstown in particular, but countywide. We had a substantial undercount of about 26%. It's not good math, of course, but a 26% undercount comes out to about 75,000 people who were not accounted for in 2010. Each one of those individuals is worth on average $1,700 a year, per year. So 75,000 times 1,500 times 10, it comes out to the neighborhood of about $1 billion that Greater New Essex County lost in essentially redistributions from the federal government of income taxes that were already paid. That's why we focused on creating our state-recognized nonprofit New Essex Together. That's why we're reaching out now. Of course, census information determines representation. New Essex County lost a seat in the Texas House of Representatives, and there was another federal seat that was substantially redistributed and changed in between 2010 and 2020. I'm not really here today to speculate on the Texas legislature or Congress. I'm here to talk about how we can get more dollars for Robstown. That's why I'm railroading through a lot of this very general PowerPoint that we have on file. The main thing is that the census represents economic opportunity, particularly for Robstown and New Essex County. Of course, the federal government uses it to determine how much will be allocated to political subdivisions like ISDs through over 365 programs. Name a day of the year, and I can name you a federal program that allocates funds based on, or at least partially upon, the census count for the region. Okay. Other states are investing more in organizations like us, mostly through what I would consider conventional public relations. Texas didn't do that, but New Essex County did, and they created New Essex Together. So, in a way, we're lucky. We don't have to have some PR company in Dallas or in Houston decide what's best for us here in New Essex County. Okay, so complete count committees. So early on, Eva and Bertha opted to join and represent Robstown ISD in our complete count committee here in New Essex County. The county judge, Canales, is the titular head of the complete count committees. We have one that's about 90 members strong right now, so we're really proud of the work that we've done leading up to the census. But before that, we were having meetings about having the community get organized, and now we're having meetings about how to turn out the count. So this is a really pretty exciting time here in New Essex Together. Here's a sample of the people we have on our New Essex County Complete Count Committee. There's Mayor Corpus Christi, County Judge Mosif, Corpus Christi City Council. The list goes on and on. We're lucky. There's 2 members from Robstown ISD, among the first to join. We have representatives from the faith community. The list grows every day, which is really exciting. I'm not here to sell the idea of a complete count committee because multiple board members right now are sitting on it. I'm really here to talk about hard to count populations and what we can do as a community, particularly Robstown ISD, to turn out the count in 2020. Just with
the naked eye, I can tell that Robstown is overrepresented with hard-to-count communities right now. That's young children, college students, no county jail or inmates or homeless people, but definitely rural and always a smattering of undocumented residents. The census isn't a census of, it's not the voter register, doesn't count citizenship, but it counts for residents. A resident is someone who lives in an area either on April 1st or 9 months of the year. Particularly when it comes to children who may or may not have shared custody status. The Federal Census Bureau tells us to simply ask where they're laying their head on April 1st. So we have opportunity here in Robstown. Some stuff about outreach. There's one thing I'd like to point out. Nueces Together will not retain any access to census data. Census data is private. It's private by law, can't even be shared with law enforcement. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with like Ancestry.com or things like that. The census itself is made public 70 years after it's taken. So everything that is observed or reported via the census is only demographic data. Till most of us are long gone. So that's something to keep in mind. Sadly, I won't speculate on why or how or who, but people in other parts of the country tried to make it a politicized thing regarding citizenship and other types of issues like that. That's not going to be on the census, and even if it was, it's not reported to any sort of law enforcement officially. In fact, it's illegal to do so. So I'm now asking Robstown ISD and anyone who will spread the word that it absolutely, positively is safe and very private form that's filled out that relates to funding and representation. Okay, Robstown ISD and funding. So you're all Robstown ISD board members, you know better than I do. Most of your funds are allocated through property and state taxes, but particularly federal funds are allocated for federal programs. Said federal programs are listed below. There's the various titles and a lot of bilingual and ESL funding as well. That comes from federal dollars. The people on the board can tell me a whole lot more about TEA formulas and golden pennies and all that. But the shortest version is the more people who are counted, the more dollars you get. Children under 5 are chronically undercounted. They were chronically undercounted in Robstown in 2010. There's a lot that we can do, and there's a lot that is already being done. So I'd like to talk about that shortly. Okay, here's a little roadmap of why some communities are undercounted. There's a lot written about the population differential. I'm not a population expert, but the shortest version is the higher the population differential, the more likely it is to be undercounted. Highly diverse populations and majority minority populations comparable to that of Robstown and Nueces County, for reasons unclear, do not fare well. They have a high differential, therefore there's less participation, therefore there's less federal funding, and it can become a negative feedback loop. So, what can be done to stop said differential? Well, we are happy to facilitate Robstown ISD as much as is possible. The U.S. Bureau, the Census Bureau, to its credit, has produced any number of resources. Now, they're sitting on a website that they host a website and consider their job done. So I'm here to help facilitate in any way I can. We already have material in English and Spanish that we've distributed to CCISD, and they're sitting at home with students now. There's also census events. We would love to coordinate in any way possible with any campuses or administrators. I don't have children in any ISD, so I don't even know the right words for it. It's been a little while. But there's also like census vans that'll be around that will go to public gatherings. And they're not New Aces Together. They're not another nonprofit organizer. They're straight up Federal Bureau employees who are willing to come to you. All you have to do is ask. We've already facilitated a similar meeting with MOCC Housing, and now the students who live in housing will be accounted for. So there are resources available, and I want to do everything in my power to make sure that our ISD is fully counted in 2020. But the biggest thing we ask is for buy-in and participation from local leaders. So a local leader, I mean, you're all elected officials, that can mean a lot of things. It might be a stakeholder, it might be an elected, it might be a business person, it might literally be someone's grandmother or a preacher. I'm asking you. So we really need buy-in from everyone we can get in Rosetown. Here's some important timeline stuff to consider. So this document was originally made last summer, and here we are right up on the soft launch of the census on March 12th. Our resources are going to be going live soon, ours being the federal government. So the census form itself will be live soon as a soft launch. We all remember when the ADA first came online, there were issues at first, there were hiccups. A week or two later, the website was fixed. That's what I'm personally anticipating. I've never seen a federal program go off without a hitch on the first try. But Census Day proper is coming. It's March 12th. I do know there will be a press conference with New Aces Together, the Complete Count committee members, and anyone and everyone who wants to come. I hereby formally invite the RISD board and anyone who would like to come join. We're thinking either the county courthouse or maybe Corpus Christi City Hall. We'd love to come down to Rosetown. We don't care. But once Census Day happens, it's real. We have to get a count. Both the university and the ISDs will be closing their doors pretty shortly, which is the most important part of the enumeration period. So if you have any ideas or suggestions or ways to interact or collaborate at all between now and the last day of school, you know where to find me. I'll take any suggestions that you do have. It's pretty important. So in May 20, that's when the enumeration, the actual physical canvas that we associate with census taking will really be at its peak, what I would refer to as a field program. But enumerators only get about 20% of the actual census. They follow up on incomplete forms and they verify a lot of data. So there will be a handful of letters and correspondences that come from the federal government. There will also be phone calls. Those start in mid-March. But the shortest version is census is about to start. Have your participation. And then on July 31st, you can no longer initiate the census yourself. The census has been taken. There will be follow-up from enumerators and other Bureau of Census Bureau personnel. But at that point, we have what we have. So, I like to relax in the summer. I don't know about you guys, but that's not an option in 2020. That's the year. So, any questions or?
I know that we've discussed it already with Dr. Moreno.
We're committed to work as a school district with our community to make sure we get the word out, and we'll take also be a direction or lead that y'all have as an organization to come help us out. Okay.
We'll reach out. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, our next item for information is Robstown ISD Education Foundation April 15th luncheon, and we have two gentlemen here to represent Arnold Cantu and Ruben Sainz, who will be sharing some information with us.
Thank you for giving us the opportunity to come and speak before the board. Briefly, I would like to thank the community also, not just the board, but community members who have supported this foundation since its inception. Just a little over 2 years ago, we came before the board and requested that we literally get permission to support the board in the educational process of our community. And today we were very proud to announce that we have raised over $100,000 in just over 2 years. Credit to the sponsors that have supported the foundation. And the only mission we have is to provide grants for their teachers. Because without the teachers, they're the instrument that delivers the educational process. And it was so enjoyable to sit here and see the celebration of recognizing our students and a few of our faculty members here. I shouldn't say faculty, I worked at a college before and I call them faculty. But our wonderful teachers. But decades ago, as you can tell, Arnold and I are kind of what they call it, the old fogies. Until I realized that I was speaking to a gentleman, Mr. Floyd, a local businessman who graduated in 1955 from Robstown High School. But these are the people that are giving back to their community. He has through his business, and numerous other individuals in the audience and on the board have businesses that have supported the educational process by serving on the board as educators, etc. And this is how we pay back to our community, and that is the mission of the foundation. But today, just in over 2 years, we have raised this kind of money with the support of our businesses who have supported the educational process. And it is numerous people that are out there, and not only throughout the community, but in the state of Texas and throughout the United States and around the world, graduates of Robstown that have given so much back to this community. And tonight we would like to announce that our 3rd annual luncheon for the foundation is happening on April the 15th. And we have a slide up on the board that announces that, and we would like to invite not only the board members, but the entire community. And we're broadcasting this through letters that we send out to previous supporters. And Arnold and I are here as the Vice President of Marketing and the Vice President of Development. But we're only the instruments of the foundation because there are numerous other members and a few other officers. And on behalf of Dr. Juarez, who could not be here tonight, we would like to also express our gratitude, our thank yous to the Board of Education and to the community members. One of the things we did on our very first luncheon, our inaugural luncheon as we called it, we had our first distinguished speaker who was an educator for his entire life. And he was our first speaker, and before we chose him, we thought it would be most appropriate because being an educator, it's only those individuals that have gone out there to continue the educational process for the advancement of our own children. And not only have we decided to select previous graduates, and that's our intent, to select individuals in the community that have given back to their community, to the educational process, and we had the first and second members of our luncheon who were former graduates of our community. This year we decided to invite a 3rd speaker, and you can see the flyer that we send out to numerous members that have, community members and businesses that have bought tables, have supported financially by directing and selling advertisements in our catalog. And as you can see this year, we're gonna have a special speaker, and Arnold is gonna talk a little bit about her because I think that he was very instrumental in the selection of this individual. So let me turn it over to Arnold so he can say a few words about our speaker.
Thank you very much, Ruben, Dr. Moreno, Mr. Oscar Lopez, Board Chairman, board members, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Arnold Cantu. And as you can see, we're here tonight to bring you information, to inform you, what the RISD Education Foundation is up to. In about a month or so, we're gonna have, our third luncheon. And I think we were very, very fortunate to come across this young lady that I'm not sure if she was born and raised in Robstown, but I'm gonna assume she was. But I know she was a graduate of Robstown High School. And her name is, as it's listed up there, Yvonne Vigu Rody. She's been in the, I think after graduating from Robstown High School, she attended the University of Texas at Austin, decided to go into a career of engineering. Not just any field of engineering, this is aeronautical engineering. You probably heard the saying, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure it out. Well, let me tell you, aerospace engineering is one of the toughest fields you could probably go into. So I think very, very highly of this lady. Besides her commitment to the space program, NASA, she takes time from her busy schedule to go around and giving talks to kids on the careers, that a person could choose in the aerospace engineering. Now, when I first heard speak at the Richard Borchardt Fairgrounds here, a little less than a year ago, I had the idea that maybe she could kind of tweak her speech a little bit and present it at our luncheon, because as I was sitting there watching her and listening to her, and she has a passion for this field that she chose, and I'm thinking, here's a lady from Robstown, involved in all these challenges, with the aerospace industry, and it just occurred to me and some others, she would be the perfect person to encourage all these kids here, and especially the commitment that we as the foundation make to encourage kids, to pursue whatever their dream is. And let me tell you something. As I sat here and all these kids came up to get their awards for, choir and science and mariachi, I feel very privileged. I feel very good about sitting there and watching all these kids come up and getting their awards. And it's all because of you and the support that they're getting from Education Foundation. Ruby, you want to do the next slide?
You want to go ahead and switch that? The other page is that we're not going to pass the hat around here, but this is the introductory letter that we send out to all members. And over the last two luncheons, let me tell you, I've learned a lot about the community and some of the individuals that we have here. Believe it or not, we also had major sponsors, because this is how the money is raised. And it's part of my job to go around and look for money here and there, under the carpet and behind the couch and all that kind of stuff. But it takes a little bit more than that to convince somebody to give out their hard-earned dollars to somebody else for a cause that is beyond belief. Because if it was not for our teachers in our school system, none of us that are speaking before you right now would be able to have accomplished the things that we did in our lives. And as graduates of Robstown High School, Arnold and I decided to join up with a lot of our other board members. And we go around talking to businesses, and in our annual program, if you could get your hands on one, you would see that local businesses are supporting this. And for the next couple of years, I'm gonna show you this back cover of our annual report, or our program report. And as you can see, it's Citgo. An organization like this, you might buy gasoline from them, stop at one of their businesses. But Arnold retired from Citgo. And he and I took the time to go and talk to some of these individuals and convince them that, they should contribute to Robstown just the way they do to a lot of other worthwhile organizations. And I recall Arnold being asked by one of the highest members of that organization, asking him, Arnold, why are you doing this? And Arnold simply responded, he said, because I went to get an education there. If it hadn't been for Robstown ISD, I wouldn't have worked for Citgo for 30-some years and retired from here. And those are the kind of things we want to do. We also talked to other business people that gave us big checks. And when anybody gives you $5,000, $10,000, as we had another local family from this community donate $10,000 to our cause. It's nothing more than you feel humbled because you're asking somebody to give you money for the cost of all those children that Arnold was just talking about. But we want to just invite you to this. Hopefully you can participate and let you know that the foundation that this school district has created is going to continue to do the best it can to raise money for our teachers, because they're the ones that make the educational process possible. And in the next slide, we have is, like I said, we're not gonna pass the hat around, but those are kind of monies that we're looking for, from $10,000, $5,000, to tables that we sell for $750 per table. And last year, it was a sellout program at the luncheon at the fairground. And we're hosting this event right here in our hometown, in our fairground that sits here in the community. And we would just like to thank you for the opportunity that this board has given us, the community that has supported us, the sponsors that have come forward and supported the school system and the foundation altogether. So we thank you for the time, but we just wanted to give you this quick update of where we've been here in just a little over 2 years, and we're gonna continue to work hard for this school district and the teachers that educate all of our children. Thank you very much for your time.
Anybody have any questions, comments? Anybody? Anybody would like to buy a table?
I'll just say one thing is that just networking with each other is how we achieve this accomplishment. Because even the first year, we never thought we were gonna even see the amount that we brought in. So I think just passing the word, all of y'all who are professionals and know people that have come through our district, please pass the word, have them connect to the Education Foundation through Dr. Moreno. Anyone who's interested in participating, we appreciate all the help that comes. We even have individual tickets for $100.
Yes, that's right. There's individuals. You can put a party together, you know, get your friends, your classmates. Alumni, compadres, comadres, you know, just whomever you're comfortable with. In closing, I'd like to say that besides passing the word around, you know, we need commitments. We need sponsorships, we need donors. Because without that, I mean, we just can't go forward. We cannot move forward. I'd like to say that if you do attend this luncheon, and I'm sure, like most of these people up here, that you've probably attended numerous lunches, but I guarantee you we're working very, very hard to put together a luncheon like one you've never seen before. We're shooting for the stars, okay? Thank you very much.
Not just alumni, but I know that there's a lot of alumni getting together because it's the big 2020 and they've got the class of 90 reunions, that maybe they can pass the word around and they can just join us. It's a very important cause. It goes back, 100% goes back to the teachers. And so it's a commitment, like Ron says, yes, but it's a worthy commitment. So again, thank you all. Thank you.
We truly appreciate the Education Foundation and all their efforts. Thank you. All right, trustees, we'll continue, and this is just some general information. SB 1566, sponsor training. This is a training that's required every 2 years, but I think that actually all trustees have gone through the 1566 training already. So.
Is this phase 2? That's the one?
No, I think it's still the same one, Peter.
This is every 2 years. The last one, yeah, it was in May of
2018. So I think we're out for this one.
We're up for this one. There's several.
It's every 2 years.
So we are up for this one, to clarify.
Yes.
Okay.
They
All
called
right.
this one phase 2. That's why we knew it was something different.
All right, so we'll get you some additional information on that, but just know that that's coming.
I guess the question would be whether or not we can maybe meet here because of the, if you have so many members, we get discounted.
We can hold the training here.
I can check into that. Do you mind making a note? The next one is the school board spring workshop. This is Wednesday, March 25th, 2020. And this is one that's also offered yearly. It's an additional just professional development for trustees. That one is offered at Texas A&M Kingsville. Again, that's up to them though, am I correct?
So you're gonna take it account, so.
Do we just have to let you know?
All right, another additional information is Cotton Picker Mariachi Festival is April the 18th, 2020. We also have today a presentation. We spoke a little bit about AVID, our last board meeting, and what we wanted to do is actually have some presentations, a brief presentation for you, just to continue to educate you as our trustees more on part of the initiatives that we're taking for college readiness. AVID is a new initiative that we have not only at the junior high level, but at the high school level as well. So at this point, I'd like to have Diana come on up to begin our presentation, and then we have some of our wonderful teachers that will be presenting to us today.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dr. Moreno. This evening, we'd like to share with you a little bit about this new initiative that we have in the district. Of course, it is called AVID. It stands for Advancement via Individual Determination. We had implemented AVID at the high school. However, we did not have a teacher that was solely dedicated to AVID. The way we had implemented in the past couple of years was we had a couple of periods in the day that we had AVID, and that teacher also had other subjects that she had to teach. This year, what we've done new with the board support, there was money appropriated to have a teacher at a Seal Junior High solely for AVID, and one at the high school that spends their time teaching AVID all day long. So we appreciate that support because it really makes a difference. Of course, the mission of AVID is to close the achievement gap by preparing all students for college readiness and success in a global society. Of course, with all the new movement of college and career readiness, we thought it was really important to go there. What we have, you have the packet, within the board packet, you have some information that we provided for you with a snapshot about AVID, gives you some statistics, which I'm not going to cover, but hopefully you've had a chance to take a look at some of that information there. It also gives you information, AVID at a glance, and how it is at the different levels, how we can offer it at the elementary, secondary, and school-wide and higher ed. And it also gives you some stats about the graduates that are actually in the AVID program throughout their schooling, and the percentage of students that go to college and how that increases, okay? One thing that we did have this year, we've already had a site visit by our program manager, Ms. Stephanie Wood, and the importance of that visit is for them to help us with the implementation of the program, because we want to make sure that we implement the program with fidelity. And that's, anytime you implement a new strategy or program, I think that's always the key, is we train staff members, but we want to make sure that it's being implemented with fidelity. So we're excited about AVID this school year. It is a program, 6th through 12th grade, and of course it helps our students prepare for four-year eligibility. I'm not going to go through every single slide because you do have the PowerPoint in front of you. It targets the students that are performing academically in the middle, students that have an average of B, a C, and sometimes a D. Students who have the desire to go to college, but the willingness to work really hard. It does focus on the curriculum. It's based on rigorous standards. It was developed by middle and senior high school teachers. It's driven by the Wicker method, which stands for writing, inquiry, collaboration, organization, and reading. It can be used as an AVID elective in the classes or in content areas classes in AVID schools. And of course, there are some results that students who are enrolled in AVID, they're more likely to take AP classes, more likely to complete their college eligibility requirements, and for them to get into a four-year college than students who don't take AVID. The AVID students participate for at least 3 years, are accepted to college with roughly 3/4 getting into four-year universities. And of course, it helps our students, ensure that our students, once accepted to college, they possess the higher level skills that they need for college success. This evening, we have both campuses that are gonna share with you some information about how it's being implemented at their campus. And we'll share with you some information from our site program manager that visited our district and recommendations that she had based on what she saw at this point. I will share with you that we've had the opportunity to go to some demonstration sites. One was in Cunningham Middle School in Corpus, and then the other one was in McAllen, Texas. We actually went to McAllen High School to view that on-site demonstration campus. And really gives you a different perspective, and you can actually get to see what it looks like. Of course, they've had it for 10 years. So it's like, I mean, it's phenomenal, but it was great to see it in action and to actually have the students share with us their thoughts about being in the program, and the parents also. So I'm gonna turn it over to Ms. Romero first to highlight the program at Robstown Early College High School, and then she'll share and introduce her teachers. Ms. Romero?
Good evening. Our team consists, of course, of our AVID director, Mr. Bonilla, and our coordinator is brand new to Robstown ISD, Mr. Jeff Braun. He is Coach Braun. And we're very excited that he is part of our team. The rest of our team is Ms. Defendahl, Ms. Guller, Ms. Phillips, Mr. Foster, Ms. Morales, and Ms. Anderson. Most of these team members got trained this summer, along with myself and Mr. Braun. So the training took place this summer in San Antonio, and we were there, I believe it was 3 days, and we learned a lot about AVID. Like Ms. Silva said, the one takeaway that we keep hearing, not only in the trainings, but also in the visits, is that the more years and the more fidelity you give to the program, the better it gets. This is really with an AVID teacher, this is like our year one. So we are trying to implement and learn as much as we can so that we can make this program better, because we know that's best practice for our students. We want our students to learn those skills, organization, note-taking, and everything that AVID has to offer. But it's gonna take us some time to get where McAllen High School is. So that's one of the conversations that Mr. Braun and I have all the time along with our team. So Mr. Braun has 5 classes of AVID. And again, we're very excited because we think that having a teacher that devotes their time specifically just for AVID is going to be very effective. And we're beginning to see the second semester, the difference in our students. We are taking students and changing their mindset on how they get organized, keeping a binder, and all those details that, if you think about it, those of us that went to college, we learned how to do on our own by trial and error. So I'm very excited, and I want to thank you that you're giving Robstown ISD students this opportunity, because we're excited about next year getting these 8th graders into 9th grade with those skills, you know, some of those skills already developed. We're having to develop it as 9th graders. So it's been a little, you know, rough there, but they're coming around. Aren't they, Mr. Braun?
Yes.
So in AVID 1, Mr. Braun has 84 students, which is mostly freshmen. AVID 2, remember that we had a teacher that had a couple of periods devoted to AVID, but her sole responsibility was also the main content area, which is U.S. history, which is a tested area. So, you know, it was tough. These are 32 students in second year, so our total students in AVID is 116 students. Okay. The goals is to implement focused note-taking strategies across core academic area. So if you remember, well, I'm gonna talk about myself because that's the way I was. I wrote every single thing and copied everything in the board that my teachers would put forth. And then I would, and this is at the college level, then I would go home and study it, and I would say, okay, what's important? So then I would end up highlighting everything. So, you know, focus note taking is a skill that is very hard to teach. Our students don't really like it because it's a new way of learning how to take notes. And there's different methods, different ways. Ms. Stephanie, when she came by, she gave us examples, and she showed us examples of what other districts that have been doing Avid for years, what has worked for them, whether it's a sticky or there's different types. So we are implementing that with our students, and they're coming along. Okay, and also to increase the high level of critical reading lessons through, not only through our language arts, but through our K programs and effective classes through bell ringers. Again, the focus note taking, I'm not gonna take you through everything and write everything, but anyway, teachers need to select the format that they want to use, because there's different. They need to think about their notes and how they're gonna revise them. So teachers, it takes a lot on the teacher's part also, because they have to practice and plan ahead how they're gonna teach this very important skill to students. And again, this is just one of many skills that Avid brings forth. They have to connect and think their notes to, okay, what is it that I'm learning, and how can I connect it to real life, and that it makes sense to me. Summarizing the reflection of learning, and then apply the learning. And this is through the note-taking. This is a picture of Mr. Gran with his students in his classroom. And again, we promote college, of course. And this is another picture of Mr. Gran. He does a lot of different activities. I had the pleasure of going to Cunningham Middle School, and we walked through classrooms and we got to see Avid in action, and it was really, it's very different than your traditional teaching. The strategies are different. There's a lot of collaboration between students and teachers facilitating. I'm excited that that's where we're going. Sir?
Hi there, thanks for having me. I kind of equate Avid to my 25th year now of coaching. 20 of those years was coaching college basketball, women's college basketball. The last 4 years I've been lucky enough to be in public education, still coaching. But I equate Avid very much to coaching. I'm not teaching the core subjects, I'm teaching the skills to be better at the core subject. So that's the reading, the writing, the inquiry, the collaboration, organization. And I think the biggest takeaway for me so far with my students is believing that they can be something. I hear a lot that they don't believe they're going to be this or they're not going to be that because of maybe what their traditional family history has been. So my job is to kind of break that barrier down and say, no, you can be anything you want to be. And I use a lot of stories, things that I've been through. A lot of the athletes that we brought to campus at A&M Corpus came in as freshmen, and they were bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and they were the best player on their team, and they had everything going for them. And then they got to our team, and they were one of 15 of the best player on their teams. And they really had to fight for their spot. But not only that, then they had the academic side and how they had to fit in there and all the things that came with it. No one was going to tell you you had homework to do. Nobody was going to tell you to study. They were going to tell you what was due, and you better be here to do it. If you don't, that's on you. They were just a number to those people. But what they always took away was time management. I wasn't very organized. I didn't take good notes. I wasn't very good working on my group projects. I didn't write well. I didn't read well enough. So the fact that you guys were able to see the benefit of the program and establish it here, not just at the high school, but now across the curriculum, is going to give these kids an opportunity to be prepared when they get to the next level. And my job as a teacher is to let them know that they can get to the next level, and then give them the skills to do so. Some will elect to use them, some will elect not to. With McAllen High, one of the young men got up and said, straight up, I was lazy. I didn't do my homework, I didn't take good notes, I didn't have a backpack, and if I did have a backpack, it was just stuff thrown into it. And I finally realized that if I wanted to be better, I had to be better with what I was doing individually. And 3 years later, he was a 3-year member of Avid. So it's not for everyone right away. There is some convincing. Some are better than others. The beauty of it is the premise never changes. And so I'm coming at them every day with, where's your homework? I don't have any. Well, let me look at your grades. Oh, well, this says you're missing an assignment. So there's the accountability of making sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. I try to make it fun, relatable. I tell a lot of stories about what I've been through, what my players have been through. I'm hard on them in a good way, to where I'm not gonna let them settle for being just okay. I want them to be great. And I really like the direction that we're headed. I think we have a bright young lady working at the middle school who is also new with me, who's also a coach, and she's a newbie to the whole coaching profession, so she's going through things and learning them as she goes, and I'm learning this habit thing as we go. So together, it's been very good, I think, for us, that we can share. We have great support across the board. Resources are good and continuing to get better, so I have nothing but good things to say about it.
That's great. Thank you.
Good evening, Board Chairman, Board, Dr. Moreno. My name is Marita Trevino, and I am blessed to serve the community of Robstown and the students in Silver Junior High. But I'm also equally blessed to come to work every day with a group of instructional leaders that have just as much passion for what I do, for what they do every day. I'd like to introduce my team. Of course, we have our district director, Tony Bonilla. We have our campus coordinator and avid teacher. Now this little one is truly a first year teacher, and you would think that she has 10, 15 years under her belt. I mean, with her classroom management, her initiative, and everything that she does for our students is just beyond belief. You need to come by and see her in action. She's phenomenal. I'd like to ask Samantha Lopez to come up. I also have on my team is Michelle Alanis, our counselor, Bertha Ramos, our counselor. I would also like to introduce Mr. Ordan Boteo. He is my social studies department head as well as a site member. Come on up, Mr. B. I would like to introduce Yvette Curry. She's our ELAR department head. And come on up, a DI sponsor, UIL sponsor, I can go on and on. Also, Candice Rodriguez also is my math department head. Come on up. And Shannon Dushek, who is also my science department head. We're very excited to do this presentation. You know, when Dr. Moreno first started talking to me about Avid, I got very excited because when it was implemented at the high school, I was at the high school at that time. And it is truly a program that I believe in. Teaching kids to be individually determined is something that, you know, needs to start at the lower grades. You know, having them have that advocacy, that voice of, this is where I want my journey to go, this is what I want to do in life. And now that we're early college, high school, we consider ourselves early high school, you know, and the importance of having the skill set that our students need to be successful at that early college starts with us, you know. So I'm going to turn it over to my team, and they're going to talk about the implementation of Avid on our campus and our site visit, and the importance of having processes and systems in place to not only support our kids in Avid, but also how it aligns itself with the core of English, social studies, writing, and math.
Thank you for having us here today. I'm a little short. So on the agenda,
Our agenda soon.
okay, so at the beginning of the year, we decided to come up with our Avid goals as a campus. So still junior high side team, we created a document process in which to monitor and support the implementation of Avid initiative among all staff by the end of the first semester, first 6 weeks actually. With that being said, I want to say that we did meet our goal. By the end of the first 6 weeks, all of our core subjects were able to implement the worker strategies and everything. We are still in the process of getting all of our electives to be at 100% with all of our worker strategies. By the completion of the first semester, the implementation and use of worker strategies will be visible to 100% of the instructional planning and classroom practices. Some of our highlights that we'll be talking about will be our PLCs, lesson planning, engaging activities, implementation of both campus goals, and the campus culture. Here's our staff trainings, working really hard and collaborating together.
Sorry. We actually started our training before school even started. Our site team attended the Avid Summer Institute in San Antonio this summer where, as Mr. Romero stated, we really learned a lot there. We're all new to Avid, so it was a real eye-opener for all of us. We make a point when we come back from a break, whether it's the beginning of the school year or Christmas break, to have a training for all of our staff. Our first training of the year, we got together and we split up as a site team and actually did a training for the rest of the campus on the different Wicker strategies. So we each took a part of the Wicker strategy and trained the rest of the campus on those strategies. Our site team, our ILT team, we've been to Leap Forward trainings all year where we're learning additional instructional strategies to use with our Wicker and Avid strategies. When we came back from Christmas, we did another training where we got together and we trained the staff and helped them with different aspects of the campus and different training. And we're really looking forward to our Avid training again this summer and attending the Summer Institute and learning more about how we can institute or implement the Avid into our campus.
So as an instructional leadership team, we looked over and reflected on our PLC. The focus of our PLC is to make sure that it is focused on mainly instruction. How are we as a team delivering our instruction to our students? That is our main focus. So looking over our accountability system and where we want to be, we decided that our PLC agenda should be restructured. It wasn't structured at all in the beginning or compared to last year. So we developed a PLC agenda that was completely structured and focused around instruction. We review our TEKS in depth. What are our big rocks? For example, what are the highly most tested items that we need to review as a team? And this is per content area. So social studies, science, ELAR, and math all have the same PLC agenda, and every week it's the same agenda that we review on a weekly basis. What resources are we using? How is our instructional delivery developed? As a team, we also utilize our Leap Forward trainings, and we provide modeling to see what can we implement in our classroom that's going to keep our kids highly engaged, something that they will learn and keep with them. How are we assessing it? And not only are we assessing it, but can we look at our review, our data review, and implement understanding how to read meaningful data. What does it mean for how it's being taught, how it will be tested, how are we going to reflect it upon the student learning aspect. So overall, within the semester, having this PLC agenda, our PLCs are effective. We're establishing more collaboration and on a weekly basis, and it's been going really well.
And I think the big part of the agenda board is the fact that, when you talk about implementation of any kind of program, you look at fidelity and making sure that you're coming back to the certain core of the program. So if you look at our instructional delivery, it says what instructional strategies will we use to support and guide instructional delivery. They are talking about that weekly. What is Wicker looking at like in social studies? Are we modeling it? Not only Wicker, but Leap Forward TEKS, resources. Are they in the lesson plans? Can we see it in the lesson plans? So that fidelity and that implementation comes with looking at it weekly and tying it to lesson plans, because Avid is not just the Avid classroom. Avid is campus based. It's throughout the classrooms. You should be able to go into every classroom and see some type of Wicker strategy being utilized or Leap Forward strategy being utilized.
So
So during our lesson planning, whether it's in our PLC or during our conference, we have a folder, and in our folder, we have access to a planning guide that comes from Lead Forward, and the document tells us what we need to use to make our lesson plans better. We also use a frequency distribution from Lead Forward. We also use expectation progress from DMAC. The expectation progress is very important because it allows us to see how the students are increasing from one test to another. Are they making progress, or do we need to go back and do we need to revisit one of the keys? We also use field guides. The field guides are very important because they help us with the misconceptions. Our students having misconceptions, if they do have a misconception, what can we do to help them clear up that misconception? We also look at snapshots, which that's where we find our TEKS. We look at academic vocabulary. We use something called IQ Release Item Analysis Tool, and this one is very helpful because it helps us to correctly guide them using questions like the STAR test. So when they do the STAR test, that's not going to be the first time they see them. We help them as well during the classroom. As you can see over here in our lesson plan, we do say if this is an activity that's going to be, if they have a collaboration during the lesson, we do say Wicker and how they're going to collaborate in the classroom. As an ILT team, we've also been doing learning rounds. What we've been doing is we walk into the classrooms and see how other teachers are actually doing these strategies. And for me, it was an eye-opener because one of my coworkers was reviewing the benchmark, and she was doing things that I had never thought to do with my students to help them review. So it's been a very good learning experience.
Because it all starts with the lesson plan. It starts with the lesson plan and implementing Wicker, you know, and them noting it and tying it back to their lesson plan, because anything that we do for instruction, whether it's reviewing TEKS, reviewing assessment, planning our lesson, it's tied to writing, inquiry, collaboration, and the reading part. So, you know, everything that we do is tied to some form or fashion of AVID across the board. So that, what we're demonstrating right now is that us meeting our goal came with the implementation of the Wicker strategies and being able to have artifacts that show that we are doing that process at Seal Junior High.
Okay, so in my AVID class, I love all my students. And my biggest goal is to try to get them exposed to as much as I can while I have them before they head off to the high school. So one of the first trips that we did is I took my 8th graders to Texas A&M Corpus Christi. And they absolutely loved it. Oh my goodness, and there's a Starbucks, and there's a pizza, and why is there like all these different places to eat? It's because we live here, basically. So they absolutely loved it. The second trip that I took, or that my students went on, were my 6th graders. They went to Del Mar College on February 18th. They got to tour the campus, the West Campus. So they got to see the welding side, the nursing, the hands-on portions. Because sometimes these kids need to know that you can still get a quality education even if it's just an associate's. Okay, I want them to know that what is out there. What kind of hands-on experience can they get? The third trip that I took my students on were my 7th graders. They went to Texas A&M King's, and that's where I went to college. So I absolutely loved giving them a tour of there. I got to tour all the different new buildings that have just been built this last year. They got to talk to some of my professors that I had classes with. They got to play basketball with some of the college players, and they really loved that. Showing off, of course. But they did an amazing job, and they absolutely loved getting out of the classroom and seeing what is out there. So hopefully we can have some future college trips and get them exposed to as much as I possibly can.
Hello, everyone. One thing that we've been using, or a couple things that we've been using in my social studies classes is collaboration. On this side, you can see this is we use an interactive notebook. This notebook, the students will put vocabulary words. They'll you can, it's kind of small, but on the left side, they'll put their vocabulary words in, they'll collaborate together to go find illustrations. And they'll have to create these illustrations, they'll talk about, okay, what are you gonna put, what are you gonna put? And they get to work together. But just providing that illustration along with the meaning, it just, improves their understanding of the word. On this is a little bit smaller, on the right side, we use Cornell Notes. Now the Cornell Notes, we introduced them at the beginning of this year. It took some training. Okay guys, this is the format, and what it does, it just gives them that consistent format. We're gonna do it like this. Every time we take notes, this is what we're gonna use. The Cornell Notes are primarily used up in the upper levels, maybe high school, college. But they have, now at this point in the year, I used to stop, okay guys, this is important. This is the main idea, this is the key point, let's go ahead and write this down. And let's write something. I'd have to get them started. Now, they're pretty much on their own. We'll do the Cornell Notes using videos, during lectures. They use online databases where they're able to, formulate their own notes. But it's just been really good, the use of Cornell Notes. After, many times we'll do collaboration where they're comparing their Cornell Notes. They'll get to do large charts and put everybody's Cornell Notes, everybody's ideas. So they're collaborating and also just using the Cornell Notes. It's been awesome. We've been using it throughout 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and it's just been really good to get our kids college ready. Thank you.
So, in my classroom, I have 8th grade tutors. They tutor my 6th graders, and at first it was quite a challenge, not gonna lie. Trying to get them to interact with these younger kids and trying to show them the proper way and how to teach, just like I am. And so they help my students with any work that they need, any advice that they need, or maybe taking some some classes, in the 7th and 8th grade. Well, hey, how do I get into algebra, or what do I need to do first? They help them with anything with the computers, showing them how to use PowerPoint, how to type stuff on Word. We do a lot of things on the laptops, getting them ready, of course, for high school. So they are great assistants to me. Anything I need them to do, they are always ready to help me. Here's some students collaborating.
So when Stephanie came to meet with the team, they gave a presentation that the team put together, PowerPoint. We showed her our artifacts that we had. She was pretty much amazed. She sat with Ms. Silvas and Ms. Ceballos and the team and she could not believe that we had already reached both goals in just 4 months of implementation. But, we credit that to being able to show that there is a process and there's a system in place to support Avid through our planning and what we do because there's no greater impact on student achievement than what the teachers are doing in the classroom. And that's Tier 1 teaching, and Avid supports that. So she gave us nothing but great, feedback. She was amazed with our group. Her 2 things that she told us was pretty much keep doing what we're doing, but she would like to see another elective teacher added to the site, our site team. So we're looking at adding another elective teacher. And also she would like to see more college decor throughout the school. But basically, those were the 2 recommendations, and I'm very proud of my team. I have 624 babies that I'm entrusted in every day, and I could not do it with the amazing staff that I have at Still Junior High. So we look forward to being a demonstration school within the next 5 years. That's our goal, so that people will be coming to Still Junior High to see what we're doing with Avid. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much to our teachers, our administrators, and for your dedication. But trustees, really what the strategy behind this is that we're creating a pipeline. And it's a seamless pipeline that goes from junior high to high school. But beyond that, once we get into a couple of years of implementation and really get things moving, then at that point, we have to look at the school district then going on to the elementary level, because there is an elementary version of the strategy. So what you see then, it's seamless, and then we start to really take off by coming to junior high and smooth transition to the early college high school as well.
How do they prepare, from junior high, when they get to high school? Are they gonna be having instructors there as well, like for more classes, or?
Yes, so really what it is, I think the magic behind it is everyone speaking a common language. Like you heard something about the interactive notebooks. The interactive notebooks are something you're also using, you're really developing the skills at the junior high level, which is then reinforced at the high school level. And all kids at that point are doing the same thing. So I may experience it as a 7th grader and then 8th grade. So I just had a transition of 2 years. Now going to 9th grade, I want to hear the same language, the same transition. So it's all about college-ready skills, study habits, organization habits. I'll say for myself too. It took me by the time I got to college to really try to figure out, okay, this is what works for me. And during that time, you really do waste a lot of time as a student to where you could have been focused more on really learning the content a lot better. So, I mean, it's just, I'm a true believer in and out. I mean, I'm a true believer of Avid and what it provides. And I'm just so grateful that trustees you supported that initiative here to continue to build it. Because here's what it is. Ultimately, we're creating a culture. And when we create a culture, it becomes everlasting and the way that we do business in Robstown ISD for our kids.
So they'll actually be able to continue what you're saying in
Oh, yeah.
high school?
It's a model.
The skills will.
It's a model and a framework. So this is just how we conduct college readiness at the middle school level, and it just transitions into the high school level. It gets a lot tighter. It's exciting. I say that within 3 years, it's 3 to 5 years, but to say that a demonstration site, you can't attain that within 3 to 5 years, I mean, it could definitely happen, but it comes back with fidelity and the implementation of the program. We're off to a great start.
Do we have eventually all teachers kind of trained on this type of level?
You start when you look at Avid, it's a cohort of kids. That's how the model starts, it's a cohort. But what happens from year to year to year, we start to evolve more and more and more. But there's a true group of kids that are going through this pipeline. And then you start to expand it year to year. So that means when you have more kids, you have more teachers. And you go from there. That's why I'm saying it starts to become part of the fabric of a campus. It's part of a culture of a campus.
So right now, we only have one teacher at the high school?
Mm-hmm. It basically is the lead person, and then the high school has a lead person. But remember, they work with content area teachers. And that's how you filter it out. And fill me in, staff, if I'm missing something on that.
No, that's important.
When we went to McAllen High, they ended up with, I think they had a teacher, elective teacher for Avid 1, they had an elective teacher for Avid 2, they had an elective teacher for Avid 3 and Avid 4, which is the seniors. And of course, they established that a little bit each year. And what they do now is they send 2 different teachers every year to get Avid trained. So that essentially across the board, every teacher will have Avid training. Now, they may not teach the Avid elective, but they understand what the principles of Avid are. And that's why they've been able to establish themselves as a presentation school, because they've got all these pieces in place now. But they'd be the first to tell you that it took time, that there were going to be hurdles, and that as long as you're committed to getting over the hurdles and doing the process, that you can see it through fruition. So,
Thank you. All right, at this point, trustees, we'll go ahead and bring up Ms. Conway. She will be reviewing the list of bills, and then she will transition into the financial statement report. And trustees, just so, again, as I look at that clock, that's an hour behind, okay? So just don't let it hard.
Good evening. You have your list of bills through page 55, which is about $4.5 million. And as always, board members, if you have any questions, call me at any time. If you have a question on any of the bills, I'll be happy to pull them and answer your questions. So moving on to the financials, page 58. Again, we have about 4 functions that are a little over 50%. We are now after we've gone into 6 months, so we should be at the 50% mark. But all 4 of those functions are, one is 36, which is co-curricular. A lot of what we do, and I've said this before, we buy a lot of supplies early in the year, and that's it's gonna weigh itself out by the end of the year. Page 2 is just a comparison, well, page 59 is just a comparison at the same time last year. So we're up about $1.7 million in revenue, which pretty much is our new state funding. We're also up about $700,000 in expense, which again is the, our salaries that we're required to increase salaries in order to get the extra funding from the state. Any questions?
Thank you. Trustees, at this point, we're requesting that you review it and take action on the approval of minutes.
The recommendation of staff that we approve the minutes. Do I have a motion? Moved by Mr. Lopez, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Rona, any questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Unanimous, will be, sir?
Trustees, at this point, we're requesting you take action and approval of budget amendments.
This recommendation of staff that we approve the budget amendment, do I have a motion? So moved by Mr. Lopez, do I have a second? Second by Ms. Rodan, any questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Unanimous? Item 8, business and support action item, sir.
Trustees, at this point, I'd like to discuss and consider approval of the proposal for RISD property and casualty insurance. At this point, I'd like to have Ms. Conway come on up.
In prior years, we've had our property insurance renew in March, and our casualty insurance, which is pretty much your buses and your white fleet, in September. I asked Keach if we could extend our vehicles through March so that all of our insurance is now due in March. So we went out for RFP for both property and casualty. We advertised for 2 weeks in the local paper. We also put the RFP out on our district website. It's RFP 20-002. We received 3 responses. One was from TASB, they no bid us. One was from an insurance company in Corpus Christi, Carlisle. They bid the casualty but did not bid the property. And the main reason is because the market at that time was locked, meaning there was someone that had already grabbed that market, but they used the exact same market that Keach does. So the bid basically would have come in the same. The bad news is it's quite a bit different, higher than it was last year. We're looking at a 35% increase over last year. The good news is last year we had a 23% decrease. So if you'll remember, and I put all 3 years there so that you can see it. 18-19 we went with a 2% deductible. That's 2% of the value of that building. It's very high deductible on wind. But again, because we had 19-20, we had a nice reduction. Instead of leaving that 2%, we elected to buy down that deductible to a $250,000 deductible. So if a hurricane hit, we would pay $250,000 and that's it. The insurance would kick in everything else. That is now cost prohibitive because we've got a 35% increase. So we looked at several things. I'm recommending that you go back to a 2% deductible. However, with that $200,000 that we would pay, I'd like for the board to commit that every year such that we're gonna be increasing that commitment, fund balance commitment. So we're not actually paying that to an insurance company. We're just gonna reserve our fund balance so that we can build that up to say $1 million in the catastrophic event. When and if it ever happens, then we could use that money. So the next page, 87, is basically, initially they came out with a $25,000 AOP, which is all other perils. However, we currently have a $10,000, and to save us a little money, he quoted another at $25,000. And you can see on page 88, that's what the district used to have. So page 88 is a really good synopsis. For the first 5 years, we had 2% deductible, and then last year we had that $250,000 deductible. And the all peril deductible was $25,000, then it was $10,000, again, that was a good year, so so the bottom line on page 89, no, I'm sorry. I think it's on the very front, 86. We're gonna pay $448,062 for property, $59,199 for casualty, for a total of $507,261. And as y'all know, Mr. Floyd is here, Brian Groves is here, Eddie Flores is here, and Randy. He did the number crunching. If y'all have any questions, they will be happy to answer your questions. Questions?
So now, this year, we're kind of crunching it together, is what you're saying,
I'm going back to the 2%.
Okay. No, but you said that we were gonna move in for 2 months, vehicles?
Basically, it's now all in one.
Right.
So last year, this current year, I asked them to extend for 6 months. So instead of it being due September 1 and then again September 1 of 2020, I asked them to just give me coverage for 6 months to get us to March.
Right.
So now everything is gonna be due in March from here on out.
Okay. Is there a savings in doing that, other than just doing it?
Well, you wouldn't wanna do it the other way because of hurricane season.
Right.
It's better to do it in March than in September.
Yeah.
We don't wanna look at insurance in September
No,
in this area.
I didn't even back, and then because we're bunching them together, is there like
Do we get a discount for doing that?
Like a bundle.
No, but when we do go out for bid, we're going out for everything.
So are we going with Keach and Associates, or is it several different?
That's the only one on the table.
So the amount this year versus last year is 507?
Yes, ma'am.
Because we're adding that. That's right, right?
Yes. Okay, any other questions?
Thank you very much.
So trustees, we're asking you to consider approval of proposal for RASD property and casualty insurance.
There's recommendation for staff that we approve the RISD property and everything. We have a motion. I'll move, and then Mr. Lopez, second.
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Bordani, any questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, unanimous. So item B, section item.
Trustees, at this point, I'd like to discuss and consider approval of a purchase order exceeding $50,000 for a sensory room at San Pedro Elementary. I just would like to take you back a little bit on.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And Dr. Weiss? Dr. Weiss will help us introduce and also with our staff. But just as a reminder, back in September 2019, we actually brought forward a discussion as far as the expansion of our, this was through our autism grant. So again, our main campus was at Driscoll. Now moving on to Lodge Beach, I think we're actually gonna have a ribbon cutting pretty soon. We're gonna finalize the date on the ribbon cutting. But then we also mentioned during that September meeting that we would look at other funds available outside of the grant to be able to make sure that at least our 3 elementaries all had the same type of sensory lab. And that's something that we're ready to bring forward to the board. But again, the purchase of that additional sensory lab for San Pedro exceeds the $50,000, so that's why we're bringing it to you. We'll have a brief presentation and answer any questions that you have.
As you're aware, with our autism grant, we did phase 1, which was at Driscoll Elementary, which we were able to provide a sensory lab, and we had our ribbon cutting and had that in the news media. And one of the things that when we, to continue with the second year of our autism grant, we wanted to make sure that we were expanding out. So Lodge Beach Elementary, because we do have more kids there with special needs, and our PPCD lab, which is now called EC Sped Ed, right? The new, it's no longer PPCD, it's Early Childhood Sped Ed. So we used the autism grant, our portion of it this year, to go ahead and do phase 2, which was at Lockridge Elementary. And at the time of September, we requested that we would relook at some of our funding through IDEAB in our SPED Ed federal programs, dollars for SPED Ed, and we have a portion of funding there, and so that's what is gonna be used to allocate for our elementary school at San Pedro. So the ladies here will tell you a little bit about where we're at right now with our sensory rooms, and then I just wanted you to know where that portion of the funding was coming up. So Ms. Kay, myself, and Nina looked through the funding of federal programs, and we have the funding to use our IDEAB to be able to fund our sensory lab at San Pedro. So I want to introduce Mariana De La Rosa and Ms. Zimmerman that are helping with our autism grant.
Thank you for having us tonight. So y'all are probably getting tired of seeing us now. So that we're back at it again. We've told you that we would beg and borrow any money we can to help our kiddos. So we found some money. There are the quotes from the 3 different companies, and we have concluded that we'd still like to go with Fun and Function. It's been an amazing company who has been helping us throughout everything. In fact, the other 9 districts that we also work with under the grant have had some difficulties, and so we tease them and we say, well, we recommended y'all go with Fun and Function. So they've really proven to help us as much as possible. But you'll just see within the packet the proposed sensory room for San Pedro. And we had done a needs assessment with Ms. Cueva and her concerns and the needs of her students at the campus. And so later on, if y'all ever get to go to all 3 of the different sensory rooms, you'll notice that they're all different because it's based on the needs of the students per campus. So we're really excited about this last one that we want to do at the elementary level.
So if you're looking at the quotes here, you can see that Fun and Function, of course, is higher than the school specialty and enabling devices. But the reason for that is that since the sensory room is such a niche kind of project, it's hard to find all the sensory needs from the needs assessment from those 3 companies. So Fun and Function has been able to provide, so we generate a general list of things that we need within the sensory room. And then these 3 companies try to fill it with what the things that we need for that. But the bottom 2 have a lot less specialty in creating a sensory room, so they don't have as many items as we need to fill that room for this campus. So the numbers are a lot less, but they're missing several of the items that we need to build the sensory room.
What was the amount at Knott's Beach?
It was right below 50, I believe it was like 48 or 49,000.
Originally, it was a little over 50,000, I think it was around 54, but when we worked on some of the activities, I think it came under 50. But we wanted to make sure when we brought it back in September that we weren't gonna be that close to the amount of 50,000, so we thought it was gonna be a little over, and we shouldn't have it in the whole.
This room is a little bit larger also.
This one?
It's on Pedro.
How many students are we gonna service in San Pedro with this?
Well, it varies, because we're looking at expanding our early childhood SPED Ed out to San Pedro. To San Pedro, so it's one of the things that we anticipate is our program is growing, so we wanted to make sure that since we had the funding, that we wanted to make sure all the elementaries had them, with anticipation that we're growing. And so right now, currently, we have some students that we're growing at Lots Beach that no longer gonna be fitting in our early childhood lab, so we're gonna have to open up the one at San Pedro. So this is the anticipation of opening that one up. So So right now, we're looking possibly 8 to 10, maybe that might be, at the end of this year, or possibly even starting off next year.
And again, we also are opening it up to the reverse inclusion, where we include our general ed students in with our sensory room as well. We're already working closely with Emory Kingsville, the graduate students there. They come in on Fridays, and we have Friend Friday. So we've been establishing some structured social skills training and functional skills training on Fridays. And then eventually, we're going to allow our general ed students to earn the privilege to work with our kiddos. So essentially, at all of our campuses, not only do our special ed students benefit from it, but our general ed students as well.
A proactive strategy for our general ed students that are also having coping as far as sensory needs, behavioral preventative for our general ed students as well, and our special ed students are not necessarily in our special education like a PBCD classroom.
So, trustees, if there are no other questions, I'd like to, we're requesting and consider approval of a purchase order exceeding $50,000 for a sensory room at San Pedro Elementary.
We approve the purchase order exceeding $50,000 for a sensory room at San Pedro Elementary. Do I have a motion? I'll move. Moved by Mr. Lopez, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Holman, any questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Unanimous?
Trustees, now for a little fun. I know that stretches just a little bit. We're gonna go ahead and set you up on one of our board and superintendent goals is to continue to expand opportunities for 21st century skills in our classrooms. At this point, what we're looking at is we're gonna have a brief presentation on what we've started already as a pilot at Driscoll Elementary, and now looking at, as we continue to grow the opportunities, there's gonna be a little bit of variance between campus to campus, but the thing is we need to plant the seed and start moving forward based on the funding that we have right now within our 21st century grant. But this is all going to be a presentation on Z-Space, again, district-wide, but again, we're gonna look at some of the funding we have right now within the 21st century and then look at planting the seed at the other campuses. So go ahead and turn that over.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Moreno, Chairman of the board, and members of the board. Good evening. We have in front of you, you're probably wondering what that laptop is doing there. But I want to give you a brief overview of the program that we currently have at Robert Driscoll. And it's a great new way to learn. Our kids that are doing it right now are really excited, and I can have Abe share with you some of the activities and lessons and new ideas. I mean, well, they have new ideas, but the great opportunity that this program gives our students.
Welcome back, everyone. Some students.
Before I go. In October, we had Channel 6 come and visit Robert Driscoll, and they reached out to us because they heard about Z-Space. And we are actually one of the only districts in this region that is implementing Z-Space. So I'm going to play the little clip for you in case you missed it. It was back in October.
Welcome back, everyone. Some students at Robert Driscoll Elementary School in Robstown are testing out new 4D technology.
They are, and Chris 6 reporter Shelby Coppins got a first-hand look at this new way of learning.
You know how a drone goes up? It's kind of like a view of a drone. You can just like see it from right here.
Students in the 21st Century Community Learning Program started using the 4-dimensional Z-Space technology this year.
Focusing on our STEM, which is your science, technology, engineering, and math. And it looks like you're playing games, but it tells you exactly what you're learning.
The virtual experience helps students take a hands-on approach to learning, from looking inside the human heart, exploring different shapes, to building roller coasters.
I mean, like the teacher's just standing in the board and just drawing, but you get to see with your own eyes.
This technology has been such a hit, Robstown ISD now has plans to implement it in every one of their schools.
What they're doing is they can see it from every angle on there. They're able to touch it, pull it out, bring it closer to them, and then turn the angles so they can see how many sides it has, how many vertices. It's a different type of learning.
Robstown ISD expects it to be in every after-school program by next month. Shelby Coppins, Chris 6 News.
And those after-school programs are part of the Texas After-School Centers on Education program that provides a creative
and supplemental learning for students.
So that is basically what that program entails. And it's really interesting to see their point of view. It's not just playing a video game. I mean, I wish we were all talking about it. I wish we had this in college. And I think it's gonna help tremendously in all the campuses, especially high school and junior high with the CTE classes, because they have CTE applications and they also have K through 12 applications. So, and basically the program, and these are just points that teachers want for their students to learn. They want to deepen their understanding, improve student outcomes, create engagement, motivate students to want to learn. This is a totally different way for them to learn. And it's exciting. And the teacher also, in the assessment part, the teacher can get that immediate feedback. You know, the teacher is actually the facilitator, very much like Abbott. The teachers is standing back, the students are in control, and you'll be able to mess with the program in a little bit. And they are in control, and as the student is talking, they're and usually in pairs of maybe 2 or 3, they're discussing, for example, the heart. That's what you're gonna see today. They can talk about it, the teacher can immediately get them, no, you're not looking at that part, turn it this way, you can see the aorta from, and this is how the blood is flowing through your heart. They can actually see a heart attack happen. So that's pretty interesting. You don't get that anywhere unless you're coming out of ER or something. But that is what's called, there's 3 sensory modalities that this program has all in this laptop. And it's haptic modality, which is the tactile feedback that it replicates the sense of touch. So you just want to reach out and grab it, but you can't, but it's just giving you that sense of reality. And then virtual reality, which is artificial or virtual environment that simulates physical presence. So that's kind of, we're kind of familiar with the virtual reality. And then 3D, which is the perception of depth. So all those 3 are in one program. You don't find that, anywhere. And here's a really good picture of what it is. That's how you feel when you put your goggles on. You feel that coming to you, and you are maneuvering it all different angles, as Abe said.
You're gonna get to experience that right now. Trust me. It won't be a frog, I promise.
No, it won't be.
So is it just being taught at, like after school, not in the classroom? Like
No, right now we have it after school.
But it can be done.
It can be.
Like right now, one of the one of the things is at the high school, for example, through the Education Foundation, our Ms. Crow, our head teacher or nurse, I guess you would say, teaching health sciences, she actually got approval for her grant. Now, what she got is just the main, I want to call it the main modem. She doesn't have all the additional.
Which is this one on the left.
But that, and right now you'll see, it's incredible. I was in HOSA myself in Health Occupational Students of America when I was in high school. I would have something like this to learn, not just on a flat piece of paper or a book, but to learn the way that they have that ability to learn. It's incredible.
And because it's so incredible, why don't we have it as a curriculum?
Well, it's certain things are going to be phased in. Right now, it started off as an after-school program initially.
It's very expensive.
But we can incorporate with 21st century, right? And
Right.
Maybe hand in hand.
Right.
Of course, absolutely.
And there's variation of curriculum that's offered within it. So, the thing is to plant the seed, to get going district-wide, and then we bring in the full-on training that they have with it. That will help us.
We don't have the training right now?
We've had the initial training, which is very basic because we have one bundle at one campus. So as we add more campuses, the goal is to have a 2, probably 3-day professional development for our teachers to learn, this, there's so much to learn about this program. And right now the students it's been, several months that they've had it. They use it about 2 to 3 times a week. It's part of their rotation. Abe, you want to share a little bit about what you do real quick?
And
what
then
they're learning?
that, and then we'll get into.
Yes.
So what do you teach during the, like, this is after school, so what do you teach?
He doesn't teach, he's a coordinator. Coordinators are facilitators in the after-school program.
Okay, so that's all you do?
I'm
Just
just
the
a
after school?
coordinator.
Okay, so
He makes sure, actually, and I'll just clarify, because, all site coordinators are basically the principal after school. Basically the nurse after school, basically the counselor after school. So, we have 7 site coordinators. We have one in.
Right now, we have about 255 registered.
255, do they all attend?
I would say about 175, 180 daily.
This is at Robert Driscoll.
that's why you do rotations?
Yes.
Robert Driscoll, 180 attend Robert Driscoll? or
Daily.
over?
A day, for, to 21st century.
Yeah, we have a lot of students at our campus, so, I have about 255 registered, about 175, 180 show up consistently every day. We do have rotations, kinder, first will rotate one day, and the next day will be second grade, third grade. But we try to get everybody to get in front of this, system. For our elementary kids, something as simple as 3D shapes is something that, I would like to show you guys actually.
How many do we have there at Robert Driscoll?
How many?
How many of these?
We have,
These 4
those 4
laptops.
laptops, and then we have
And then
one
that,
of those ones on
the
the.
big hub, the big one, that's like the teacher,
Total of 5?
So it's fine.
that's the bundle that we are seeking for approval
The
for,
same?
for junior high and high school, and then eventually the other elementaries.
Yeah, and
So
I.
you're gonna give 4 for junior high, or 5 for junior high, 5 for the high school? Oh,
It's the same bundle.
And even though I work at elementary, I think it would be a lot more beneficial at the junior high, at the high school level, because of how easy it'll be controlled for the older students and what they can learn.
Right now, the students are learning how to use the stylus and how to maneuver it and where to move it. I mean, it's hard as an adult when you first pick it up because you're adjusting to the glasses and then you wanna touch it and move it. So you're using the stylus, so you'll see that in a minute. I just wanna fast forward to, I'll hope a little video of the classroom.
We don't have a lot of money to buy dissection tools and, animals, and with Z-Space, we don't have to purchase everything. We can go right on there and say, pull up the digestive system, let's look at the liver, what's inside the liver.
So that's pretty much what it entails. So right now, I'm gonna have, just open a laptop, and Abe and I will go around to, and this includes all the curriculum, this is the black glasses allow, for the movement of the whole body, and you'll see the difference.
Those are good to go today, though. We're worried about yours. We're worried about
You'll never see it.
Pick up your stylus. Okay, if you see the heart, you're gonna grab the heart with the stylus and drag it into the little dome. Drag it into the little dome.
Oh, in the middle?
Right in the middle. Grab the touch the screen, you don't have to touch the screen.
Okay, y'all cannot officially use the Z-Space. I've already seen it. I've already seen it.
What were you asking me?
It's actually like,
make sure that all our students are, you know,
Have
the
the
opportunity,
opportunity.
the advantage of using these and, how many kids, are going to be using it. Because they all need to, they can learn a lot. It's great if we can have them during like a curriculum.
But this is
So like
elementary.
Like in science or lab.
I see them. To eventually have a lab, or there's part of their, like the physical science lab or science lab.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, you'll be
And like I said, if on this map, if, I'm trying to blow it up, Robstown's on there. It shows that we have Z space. And it says Corpus Christi, TM and Calallen, but they no longer have it. They purchased one big, facilitator one, and they used it maybe like a year or two, because I asked, because I said, so they have it, and she says they used to have it, but they just haven't taken them off. So really, Robstown's the only one that's gonna be in our region that uses, Z-Space. And I know other districts have already asked, been wanting to come and visit that class, other 21st century, classes or districts that wanna come and see.
And how did we get started with this Z-Space?
Well, actually, the district had a demo here, when was it?
I saw one at the beginning of the school year, yeah.
That was it.
There's some, trainings that we received, they were one of the vendors there, and we knew that we were trying to move to our CTE program. And at the time, we had them, come and view that as far as our nursing program, wanted to have it in there. The only place that we had the funding at the time to be able to bring it through was the 21st century, so also had 21st century come in and look at it. So what we wanted to do first, before we even started spending a lot of funding, was to pilot it. So that's why we piloted through Driscoll to see what, how we could utilize it there through 21st century. And the one that has been really requesting, some labs for it is, Mrs. Sproul, because she sees the benefit, especially in the medical field, on things that she talks about, they see pictures of, but there are things that her class could literally use that. And what she wanted to do was really have something that was a little bit more solid for her class and sharing it with other people. She didn't have a problem sharing, but she says, I don't wanna try to have a lesson and not be able to have the equipment there. So when, she had the opportunity to do it through the foundation, she requested, and I believe she's just getting the larger one. There's ways that you can use the large one as well. There's a camera you can use, and when the teacher's using it and they're viewing it through the camera and they're presenting through a presentation board, they can also see the heart coming out and stuff. But really having the kids maneuver, I think, was the reason that we wanted to be able to try the lab out first and see whether it was going to be beneficial, whether it was going to, whether we could move it and have other teachers use it. And so when we were seeing that, we wanted to make sure that we were able to expand out to the other groups. So really what we want to start with is our secondary, and then we want to review our funding to see if we are able to be able to get the other campuses as well, with at least a start. Right now, we do have the funding for 2 campuses, which is the high school and the junior high. And then we're, Marty and I are gonna, and Ms. Conway are gonna be meeting to review some of the other budgets to see if, based on once we clean up our personnel and see exactly what our spending is gonna be for the year, whether we can afford, to, open up some of those labs as well for the other campuses as well.
So how many, would you get at 50,000? How many of these?
The same, you said the same, right?
They're roughly about, roughly 15,000 for the main monitor and then 4 laptops.
Plus the software, plus the camera, plus all the goggles.
You're spending over
professional development.
Exceeding over 15.
All right, but again, I guess this, how many I can get that? How many?
It's the large monitor,
The large
teaching
monitor,
tool,
okay.
and the student can still use it, but that's more for the teaching piece. And then the 4 laptops.
It's 5 devices.
5 devices.
I know it's a neat thing to have, like for after school, but my whole thing is, where's the benefit in a classroom or for that? I mean, other than the experience, and then potentially having it.
That attend 21st century are, the main goal is to meet their need, and they're coming to 21st century to be bringing there writing notes or highlighting or taking, they can have that conversation, they can collaborate with each other. They can pick up the laptop and take it to another class, because this is a Z-Space laptop.
But
It's portable, that's what's really
I
awesome.
want you to consider the gentlemen who are here speaking about the guest speaker that we're gonna have for the foundation. You know, that's not a typical profession that a lot of students wanna go to, but something inspired her to do that, something out of the ordinary. So we have to get the tools for those students that it's not your ordinary way of teaching, that maybe they wanna explore and says, you know what, I never thought that I would wanna do this. So this is a tool. It may not be the everyday, I'm gonna highlight, I'm gonna be reading, this is a tool to be able to spur some of the excitement that we maybe aren't able to do that for the students, because I'm more than sure she got inspired somehow to go into that field. And it wasn't just by reading alone, it was something that inspired her. It could have been something that she watched, maybe somebody that she read about that inspired her. And this here, I think it's a tool that could inspire some kids to do something in the STEM that maybe our teachers right now, just by teaching alone or reading a book about it's not gonna be enough for some of our students. And the students that we have, that's the tools that they use, but they don't have 4D, like, I don't think they have that anywhere else.
Yeah. And technology is so involved right now, it's, that's so interesting. It's so interesting to students right now. So I think this is a great opportunity that we're able to provide. You know, we're supposed to be providing limitless opportunities.
And it forces the adult, because here's part of the problem in education, is that we often stifle kids because they're already wired. They're since the day they were born, they know how to interact with technology. But it actually forces the adult now to get in the kids' world. And that's what we want, because that helps us to continue moving forward and not regressing and taking our kids back, so.
Well, I'm all for this program. I just like to see it to where all students can benefit from it, not just the after-school kids.
When we start to develop labs, you know, throughout the schools, then that's how every year we can build a little bit more and more, and that's how you get more kids who get to filter through it. A lot of your CTE, based on the curriculum that's offered within it, they're the ones, like they said, STEM, the science, technology, engineering, math, of course, then you look at STEAM, it includes the arts. Those are all elements that are found within it, what's offered, so that's how you integrate, and it's just another
And
form.
it's not just the after-school kids, you know, it's just like the students that are at Avid, they're starting slow, they're starting with a small group. And that's, I mean, to me, the same thing with the Z-Space, we could add a rotation throughout the day, you know, I'm sure they can work out a.
I do wanna mention that we do hold, the laptops inside the science lab that we have, at Round School right now. So there is access to it, it's just, we can get more people trained, in Z-Space so that we can start using it for every kid to use it.
And that's the goal, once we get these going.
And I think that if our students would see these, they would be more apt to come and want to use it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's why I would like for all students to.
Yeah, that'll be our goal.
And if maybe we could like take them to the schools and show them what we've got, so that they know that maybe they can go to the after-school program and get some, you know, that would be something for them to look forward to and attend the after-school program.
I agree.
The software, like, can it be different? Like, if anybody's interested, like an architect or
Yes, everything.
There's
Just like I showed you there, it had the engineering, it had the arts, math, science, has basically everything in there.
It's just gonna be finding that teacher that has some knowledge in those areas to push forward with some of those.
This one's CTE and this one's a K through 12.
Oh, okay.
So,
It's in here in the packet.
no, it's not, I apologize.
We even have welding here too.
Yes, they do.
Yes.
And just trying to get to the last page. Oh, thank you. The CTE one, that's one of the demonstrations they had here, was the whole motor. That one was really
That's awesome.
They took that motor apart and then you're able to put it back. I mean, you can't do that.
To
It's
simulate
like-
it like that.
Yes, and then have, see it
That's awesome.
moving and everything. It was so
Oh,
awesome.
yeah, it's an amazing product, of course, I totally agree. Just get You can get lots of them.
We're working on it with your people.
It's a good trade-off. It's a good trade-off. Don't just turf. The turf for children and as well. And then all the kids, not just after school.
I don't know that we can go for a bond for
For turf.
turf jam, but I don't know about these.
You all got me there, guys.
That way,
Oh.
not just after school.
We'll see.
Let's see.
I know last week once, right?
So, trustees, and just to clarify before I get to that, so really when you look at it, correct me staff if I'm wrong, I think it was roughly $85,000 to $90,000 is what, that's why we're saying over 50,000 when you start to outfit all the schools. So that gives us at least the ability to start building on it. So we don't have to go every single time coming back. But
We're
you
not
know
gonna
it's
have
a project.
anybody mad at us because we're spending 90,000. This is
Oh,
coming
but
from
that's from,
21st century?
21st century.
Okay, all of it? All of it?
Yes, so, but again, we're gonna relook at some of our funding that we continue to have right towards the end, that we can continue building on. Okay? So what we're, requesting is consider approval of a purchase order exceeding 50,000 for Z-Space district-wide.
There's recommendation from staff that we approve a purchase order exceeding 50,000 for space district-wide. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Move by Mr. Lopez, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Lorna, are there any questions?
The only question, when we're saying district-wide, is it because there's potential for more? Or why are you putting district-wide?
Yeah,
It's
because-
only two campuses.
Because right now, we're looking at the high school, and then the junior high, like with the full, like Driscoll. And then what we're looking at to ensure to start getting it going, like we're looking at possibly the whole monitor, like the main one, like you saw a little bit in the ad there. Even if that, I think that one runs roughly
like
5,000.
Okay.
So we're gonna look at the funding that we have, and then, through 21st century, and start to plant the seed, and then after that, we can start buying the rest of the components. To have the same type of.
But then you have to have somebody trained to do them, right? Like he got trained? So who's gonna be training?
And we're also
They
going,
provide the goal is to have all coordinators, trained and then core staff that, core staff at each campus that will be able to be trained as well. That way, there's a variety of people that know how to use it and, then they can train other teachers.
Cross-train
Yes.
different people.
And that's all included in the price.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, unanimous. We're going to item number 9, closed session, under section 51.074 of the Texas Open Code. Do I have a motion to go into the executive session? Move. Move by Mr. Lopez, do I have a second?
I'll second
Second by Ms. Sorona. Any questions? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, unanimous. We now, 8:50. I entertain a motion that we convene from executive session. Do I have a motion? I'll move. Move by Mr. Lopez, there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Sorona. Any questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, unanimous. We go to 10, open session, action item.
trustees, I'm asking that you consider approval of resignations, appointments, determinations, as discussion, closed session.
The recommendation from staff that we approve the resignations, appointment, and termination discussed in the executive session. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Sorona, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Roldan, any questions? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, unanimous, we go to item number 11, adjournment. Do I have a motion? Moved by Ms. Roldan, is there a second? I'll second. Second by Mr. Lopez, any questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.